It's 2021 Fall Assembly via Zoom. So here we are. I appreciate everyone being with us. My name is Sarah Hinkley. I am the WNPJ Network Coordinator. I want to just honor that, some of you have been involved with WNPJ for almost all of the 30 years. Some of you are returning to WNPJ after being away for a while. And for some of you, this is your first encounter with WNPJ. So I am honored to have each and every one of you here. And I just think it's really important to acknowledge acknowledging that we're all here alive at this moment, and there's something really sacred about that. So I want to just start off by having us take a couple deep breaths all together. There's almost 50 people in this room, and I think there's something powerful about just breathing together. So maybe we can just take a deep breath, inhale, and then let it go, just exhale. Take another one. I feel like I need another deep breath. So inhale. And then exhale. Yeah, so we're all alive at this moment. And when I think about that, I think about Grace Lee Boggs, revolutionary woman who lived, I think, to be 101. But she often asks the question, what time is it on the clock of the world? Which I always thought was a really significant question. And we all know right now we are living on a planet that is dealing with extreme climate chaos, devastating social and economic injustice, pervasive militarism and imperialism. There's a lot going on. And also, this is a time of deep change and transformation. So one of the things we want to do is share a little clip of Winona LaDuke, Indigenous leader Winona LaDuke, talking about the current times we're living in to put it into context. So we're going to show that now.
In a transition, part of what we all know is that, I really like what Arundhati Roy says when she refers to pandemic as portal. And she says, in this moment, in the history of the world, pandemics have changed societies. This one is no different. Because the fact is that we're doing stuff now that we would have never done, like wearing them face masks, right? They were made them illegal in North Dakota, or they tried to, and then here they are, they're all wearing face masks now, right? And we all had to stay home, and we couldn't fly around. Jody and I used to fly around on our brooms around the world. Now we fly on our Zoom, right, Jody? That's how we fly. I fly my Zoom, not my broom. But my point is that, we are forced to change, and we wouldn't have changed. We would have kept doing our monkey business until something closed us down. And, there's a lot of things to be said about the origin of COVID, but I noted that it started with a bat. That's the origin of COVID, of the virus. And I think about that, and Indigenous people, we have these times in our world, and there's a lot of teachings, like little guys can do big stuff. That's one of our teachings. Like in our creation story and in a lot of our stories, we talk about how these little meat creatures might be big. And that's this one. That's this lesson right now. It's like, don't mess with stuff. That little guy that you don't think nothing of might have a big impact on you. So that's why we need to protect our biodiversity. But what Arundhati Roy says is, she says that societies are forced to change. And she says she refers to a pandemic as a portal, an opportunity to move from one world into the next. And she asks the question, do we want to bring our prejudice, our avarice, our dirty skies, our data banks, our dirty rivers? Do we want to carry that through, or we want to go through clean? We want to go through clean. And that is really this moment, because that's what we want to do, is we want to have this moment where we see the tumultuous nature of the world around us. Never in my life did I think those Columbus statues would fall. Never in my life, but statues are falling, icons are falling. We have obviously disasters of biblical proportions, on all sides of us. You have a political crisis, a health crisis, and an economic crisis of major proportions. My strategy and my thinking is just keep pushing, because we have a social movement that is transforming, and a lot of us have been doing this for a long time, And what we noticed in this time is many things, but one of the main things we noticed is that big systems fail. Big agricultural systems crumble. They cannot adapt. There was all this arguments about the economy of scale, while E.F. Schumacher was saying small is beautiful. everybody else was saying, go big, economies of scale. Well, it turns out those systems cannot transform in crisis because they're too big.
So hopefully you all were able to hear that. I just think there's a lot of wisdom in what Winona is talking about, which leads us to the theme of our assembly tonight, is finding our path with a just transition. So WNPJ is on the move. You know, we're looking at the next chapter and we're trying to figure out where we're headed. So tonight is about putting forth this vision about where we're going to head as individuals and organizations that are committed to peace and justice work. So we're going to cover a lot of things tonight. We put a lot into this 2-hour segment, but I just want you all to know some of it may be familiar to you, some of it may be unfamiliar, and it's okay if you don't absorb all of it. This is just to introduce you to some new ideas, or to revisit some ideas. But what I would really recommend or request from you all is to really check in how you can bring your whole self and be compassionate with yourself and others, and stay curious about the parts of this evening that sort of bring your antenna up, or sort of catch your eye, and then remember those parts, because this assembly is going to come and go, and what we want to do is stay engaged with each other and really connect afterwards. So it's just important to stick with whatever sort of resonates for you, and know that we want to be in community with you all for the long haul. So with that, I am thrilled to introduce our next speaker, Dena Eakles. Dena is the founder of WNPJ member organization Echo Valley Hope. She has been in connection with WNPJ for many years and is deeply committed to advancing peace, justice, and sustainability. She is going to say a few words tonight, but first we wanted to show this wonderful brief video about Echo Valley Hope, which is based in Ontario, Wisconsin, at Echo Valley Farm, where Dena has been learning from the land for the last 20 years.
A Navajo guide once told me that echoes are the ancestors calling back to you. And 20 years ago, that was the inspiration for the name Echo Valley. The land was purchased with the hopes that it would be taken out of the buy and sell world. The dream was to create a space for human beings to learn from the land and from one another. And in many ways, that dream has been exceedingly fulfilled. People have come from around the world to help or to rest. Many have been in transition and have needed a safe haven. The community is fluid, and happily it extends far beyond those who live here. The animals, the gardens, the effort, and the joy are intertwined. Time slows down here, and this reminds me of home, our sentiments frequently heard. Out of love of community and humanity came the need to be able to help one another, and so our nonprofit, Echo Valley Hope, was born 16 years ago. Our first effort was to help with Hurricane Katrina, and while we have done some charitable work, Echo Valley Hope is focused on education, not on schooling, but the education that comes from hands-on learning and meeting and greeting people who are different from you. Most recently, we have assisted asylum seekers and continued to work towards ending fossil fuels. We believe peace is possible, but that it requires the effort of the peaceful, and that one moment of fulfillment is a powerful initiator towards a better world. Widening the circle of trust and goodwill is what we hope to do, and you are always welcome.
Thank you, and hello to everyone. What time is it on the clock of the world? Jimmy and Grace Lee Boggs were visionaries who understood the perils of our time, but more importantly, celebrated and fostered the strength of the human spirit and the gift of community. Yes, we are meeting at one of humanity's darkest hours. Climate change is looming and leaders are unwilling to alter course. People on the front lines who are losing homelands and livelihoods are largely ignored, and it can seem very dark indeed. But it is our hope and our efforts to create a sustainable world of justice and peace that unites us and drives us in good faith towards all that is still possible. It's a time of reckoning. We are witnessing the unearthing of the graves of Indigenous children who were taken from their homes in order to be assimilated by a dominant culture. That dominant culture refused to take the time to understand the wisdom of the First Peoples. The same dominant culture capitalized on the forced labor of enslaved people and continues to enrich the riches gained by the selling of arms and the continuation of war. It's not enough to talk about living on stolen land. It's not enough to work towards reparations if we are doing so, cloaked in the same mindsets as colonizers, profiteers, and warlords. We must first ensure that we're not continuing the same foolish notions of divide and conquer, that we're not allowing patriarchy and hierarchy to lead us as has been done in the past. I fully agree with the poet and activist Audre Lorde. You cannot dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. It's time, my friends, for new tools. It's time to listen to those people who have survived despite generations of trauma and abuse at the hands of the dominant culture. And that's all of us. It's time to reconcile our relationship to one another and to the earth. The mindset of the dominant culture has been based on I think, therefore I am. It's born of the father forsaking the mother earth. It's a patriarchal pyramid scheme that forces alienation and competition rather than cooperation and equity. But we are people who are willing to begin again. We're people who have not forsaken the dream of peace. And it is incumbent upon us to unshackle ourselves from the mindsets that our lives have been steeped in. Father knows best, and the doctrine of discovery still run through us. Let's widen the circle for the betterment of all. It's often said, we're the ones we've been waiting for. But I think we need to challenge this notion and ask the bold question, are we the ones we've been waiting for? And I suggest to you that if we're not ready to step into new levels of communication and respect for all people, then no, we are not those people. This network began with high ideals, and it is up to us to continue to foster those ideals and adapt to this new time. We're a network of individuals and organizations that cherish peace and justice. That is our calling card. We are cheerleaders for our better angels to rise above ignorance and hate. Let us embrace our humanity and call ourselves to our highest possibilities. Being human is a gift. We are all worthy. We can all learn. Our dreams are possible. One person, one organization cannot do it all. But together as a network, we can champion one another and move forward together towards our very worthy goal, sustainable peace and justice. It really is an honor to be among you. As I saw your names coming up, I was really touched. We are family, not of blood, but of vision, and we need one another. Thank you for being here.